All right, what's going on, everyone? As you can tell by the title of the stream, the Okarun and Momo controversy, so to speak, has finally reached a peak. We finally have kind of an answer to what's going on with Momo. So, yeah, let's talk about it. I did read the chapter ahead of time. I'll say it again before we get into the chapter. But, yeah, we're going to talk about this. The reason I read the chapter partly was because I got spoiled on Twitter, unfortunately. But also because I want to, like, talk about the chapter. I don't want to just read it. We got Eden's in the chat. What's going on, Eden's? We got Justin. Justin, did you catch the Patriots game last night? To all my fellow football fans, Patriots are staying strong. I knew you wouldn't let me down on a Monday. No, what happened was I'm just working on videos and I fell behind. So unfortunately, I had to get what I was working on done before I started the stream. So I didn't really have time to be like, oh, I'm going to be late. So unfortunately, it's just a slow Monday for me, but we're catching up. We're going to get back on track. It is what it is. But we're here. We're ready to talk about Dandadan. Yes, they actually won. It's crazy. So I watched the first half and then I fell asleep in the second half. But from what I saw, the Pats, I don't really remember how the Bills played. I remember them playing like okay. I remember the Patriots running the ball like a lot. It seemed like more than usual they were running like a run offense instead of a pass offense. And they were like really taking advantage of that. Not like no huddle, but like it was pretty aggressive. I was a little iffy about this new arc, but after 212, I got a good feeling about this amnesia story. I feel like this chapter answers any concerns about this new plot line. I feel like after this chapter, and we can get into it, but I feel like after this chapter, it more or less feels like this new plot line isn't going to last as long as people suspected. Excuse me. I kind of get the feeling that after this chapter, this whole amnesia plot line is going to last like 10 chapters max. That's the vibe I get. I don't have anything to support that other than pure vibes. But what's everyone else thinking so far? Saint Germain has a bakery. It was so funny. Yeah, that was... Saint Germain is like the most weirdly normal character in the story. And I say weirdly normal because it's like scripted normal. You know what I mean? Like, you know those people that they're like a little too normal? They're like conspicuously normal, right? Like he's conspicuously normal. Like he's so normal you're like, what's wrong with you? Right? Like he's got a day job. At one point, I always bring it up, but at one point he was watching a video about like not even just how to play basketball, but like what is basketball? Like if you've ever seen the first Space Jam movie, they show a clip from like the 60s explaining the game of basketball. It was like that. It was crazy. He's too normal. That's strange. Yeah, I like to think of it as he's conspicuously normal. He's so normal, you're like very aware of how normal he is, and it doesn't feel right. It's conspicuous. I'm fine with what's going on. Tatsu hasn't given me a reason not to. And this chapter to me is a reminder of the overreactions the other week. Yeah. The other thing too, if you haven't watched my last video, go ahead and check it out. But when I was looking at the comments to that video, it seems like a pretty good consensus that for the most part, people aren't worried about Dandadan right now. There are some people who feel like this shouldn't be a thing, but nobody is like truly like, I'm burning my manga, I'm done, this series sucks. Has Dandadan ever disappointed you? No. I feel like the only low point of Dandadan was Rin's arc, where she got her powers. And even then, I wouldn't even call that like a bad arc. That's just like the Long Ring, Long Land arc of Dandadan, where it's not a bad arc, but comparatively where it is and just compared to everything else in this series, it's like, there's been better. Especially since it followed, because Long Ring, Long Land follows Skypiea, which is amazing. And then you get Long Ring, Long Land, and it's like, it's all right. I have terrible takes and terrible taste. Breakthrough, do you want to point out one of these terrible takes that I have instead of just making a blanket statement? But yeah, Rin's arc is good, and it's got some really good moments. At the beginning of the arc, when she thinks Okarun is like secretly a sexy vampire, that's funny. And then the fact that they work the Hayashi band into the story again, that was really cool. And also her backstory is pretty cool too. It's just, it's an okay arc compared to everything else. Not even a supernatural collector can escape a 9 to 5. Well, that's what I hope we find out about these black paladins, because they seem to be like, not like spirits, but like, well, not spirits necessarily, but like, you know, occult figures that are very much involved in the human realm, right? So I'm curious to find out, like, what do they do for a living, I guess, and how does that work? No, I have not heard of that anime. I have no idea what that's about. What do you think Okarun's gonna try next chapter to call out to Momo? So, I have my theories. So if you watched my last video, which if you haven't, go give it a watch. But if you saw my last video, then you know I said, I think they're going to relive episode 1. What's going on, Tyler? How you doing? Pleasure to have you back. I think they're going to relive episode 1, and the way it's framed at the end of this chapter, I think what's going to happen is either Okarun is going to instigate it and it's going to play out more or less the way it happened the first time, or I think what's going to happen is we're going to get a similar story, except this time Okarun is going to be the one taking control, right? Because Okarun is the one who has his memories. Momo doesn't. Momo doesn't have her powers. Okarun is training with the spiritual powers, which is weirdly suspicious timing, right? Because like Momo loses her spiritual powers. Okarun is like just starting to get some spiritual powers, right? Kind of sets some stuff up there. By the way, fall season has started, calling it Spooktober. Yeah, I keep forgetting to change my name on Twitter. I gotta change my name on Twitter to Spooky OG instead of Shonen OG. The thing is that this isn't a case of whether Dandadan dropped in quality. It's just a testament of how despised amnesia arcs are. Yeah, exactly. I don't think anyone... So, again, I keep saying watch my video because I answer like pretty much any concern about this new plot line in that video. I was pretty thorough about it. But it's two things going on. It's people don't like the amnesia trope. And then the other thing is people really just want Okarun and Momo to date. So the fact that something else is delaying it again, excuse me, it's like, it's the perfect storm. People were just going to be immensely pissed off. If it had just been like one thing or the other, it might not have been such a viral reaction. But because it was both things at the same time, at the worst time, perfectly fitting together, people are just like, dude, screw this series. Will I have a Kagurabachi lore video? I'm not planning any Kagurabachi videos, just because the way anime manga YouTube works, and 40,000 subscribers, still pretty small, but I know a thing or two. In my experience, unless a series has a popular anime, it's just not worth it to cover it, because it's just not going to get, it's not worth the time to make the video. That's to put it frankly. And the other thing is, consistently with new manga, companies like Shueisha love to copy, or companies like Shueisha, I say Shueisha, but it's probably some bot, but they love to copyright the videos. Like my Ichi the Witch video got copyrighted, I think. My Kiyoshi video got copyrighted. Even Shangri-La Frontier. Shangri-La Frontier is a popular anime. Video got copyrighted. It's got like, I think over 50,000 views, and I was super pissed because they copyrighted it, and I couldn't re-upload it because it already had like 50,000 views. So I'm like, I guess I'm gonna leave it. So my point being, I probably will not do any Kagurabachi videos until like there's something I really want to talk about, or until the anime comes out. Maybe this is when Count Saint Germain will attack Serpo or Rokuro and instigating it, and then Okarun unlocks powers like Momo did. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Is like, we don't really know what's going to happen next. Dandadan is at a point where like we could kind of do anything with the story. We just know that obviously the focus right now is Okarun and Momo. I also really, people are focusing on Okarun and Momo, but this was a really good chapter for, weirdly, it's very weird to say it, but I thought this was like, in terms of like smaller character interactions, I thought this was one of Ira's best chapters. Like this was, and I don't mean this the way it sounds, but for anyone who's on the Ira is annoying train, this is like a perfect example of like, she's not annoying. Like she's not a bad character. She's a perfectly good character. Like this was best Ira is I guess the way to put it socially. GG finally gets his shot. Let's go. GG was about as GG can be. And I want to bring that up because I feel like most people wouldn't think of it. We got Zachary in chat. How you doing, Zachary? Pleasure to have you back. Would have been smarter to let her and Okarun have their confession, a first date, and then make her forget everything. I can kind of understand why you would say that, but I feel like then it would just be worse because now you're only losing more progress that they've had. At least now he can get her back and then they can build a relationship from there. I mean, not exactly Chico Suave, but I would imagine starting a relationship and then ending it and then trying to pick it back up is a lot harder than, you know, like fixing a friendship and then dating after that. That's just me. The way she admits, albeit angrily, how worried she and the others were was wholesome. It was wholesome, but also it was a nice affirmation of like just how much she values Momo as a friend. Because like if you look back at some of the earlier chapters, like 100 chapters ago, even before that, like as far as I remember, Ira really doesn't have any friends anymore besides the Momo crew. Like her two gal pals that she originally had, I think they don't really hang out with her anymore. I could be wrong. Somebody correct me. Does she still hang out? Or was there like a volume extra where she hangs out with them? I think they're kind of like all set with her. per the chapter where Momo invited them to stay with her, and the two girlfriends were like, ew, why is Ira still here? But yeah, no, that's a good point about Ira this chapter. Okarun at the end gave me globalist vibes when he ate the curry. Yeah, it was a very like committed chapter. The hangout in the volume 19 omake. Okay, so they still do hangout, but my point still stands that like she very much understands since that point that like her friendships before were like kind of superficial to an extent, and like her friendships in this group are like they go deeper. They're on a deeper level. Best omake was Evil Eye helping Ira with her friends. I don't remember that one. Which one was that? Oh, okay. There was an omake where Evil Eye fixed Ira's relationship with her friends. I'm gonna look that up because I can't remember that one. Which volume 19? So they were hanging out. Okay, fair. That's not Evil Eye though. When was Evil Eye? 19 is Ira hanging with the friends. Oh, 16. Okay, thank you. I just want to, I know this is kind of off topic, but I want to pull this up because I don't deliberately remember. I actually kind of forgot about the extra chapters. Now that we're on the topic, I would love to make a video about Dandadan's like volume extra chapters. I just don't know how I would do it, because I feel like Dandadan has especially good ones that aren't just like random bullcrap. I don't think they'll ever get animated, but they are really cool, and they are like great moments for all the characters. Oh. Dandadan volume 16 omake. Here we go. So Evil Eye approaches the girlfriends and they're like, we want to talk to Ira, but if we hang out with her, then we're going to be like shunned like she is. They apologize for ignoring her, and they say they want to be friends again. That is like a really nice chapter. It kind of highlights how like sometimes you need someone to take that first step, because like both people want to apologize, but nobody feels like they have the right to make that first step. That's a nice chapter. God, I love Dandadan. Anyway, what were we talking about? Thoughts on the rough art in Kagurabachi's latest chapters? Dude needs a rest. I think I said this last week, but it's like incredibly predictable, or it should have been predictable, what has happened recently, because it happened exactly to Jujutsu Kaisen. And the thing about Kagurabachi, right? Has this guy gone on break? Let's go to Shonen Jump, Kagurabachi. Has this man ever gone on break? October 5th, 28th, 21st, September 14th, 7th. 31st, 24th. Excuse me as I mutter to myself. I think August. Maybe? I'm just looking at the chapters to see when Okazono might have gone on break. Maybe in the spring in August, if it wasn't the magazine. Yeah, I mean for the last year or so, for all of 2025, he might have gone on break twice, which is the same as Dandadan, except when Dandadan goes on break, Tatsu goes on break for like a month. JJK, MHA, One Piece are the ones that come to recent mind for not having finished chapters. What was MHA? And what was One Piece? What the heck was One Piece? The one that specifically comes to mind was Jujutsu Kaisen during the perfect preparation arc when Maki attacked the Zenin clan. That's like the one glaring example that I think no manga that was like, it kind of like shook everybody because that was the first time that had ever happened post Shonen Jump going online. It's kind of crazy. Also, thoughts on the Ichi Witch chapter? I gotta be honest, I'm like a month behind on Shonen Jump. I gotta probably Saturday, although maybe we'll do it Thursday. I don't know, but probably Saturday. I'm gonna like set aside my afternoon to catching up on my manga because I've been busy making videos. As you can tell in my perfect planning, my perfect timing. But yeah. Just to make a quick comment about Ichi the Witch, when I was up to date with Jump, I liked it better than Kagurabachi, so might be a bit of a hot take, but we'll see. All I know is Ichi the Witch didn't need a New York Times article. I didn't say that. I think he went on break last month in August. Yeah, okay. If that wasn't a magazine break, then that was a Hokuzono break. Still, my point still stands. The man has gone on break twice the whole year. Do I know about Japan Game Awards, the winners early after Golden Joysticks? No, I don't know anything about that. I feel like Jump Cash Cows should run a bi-weekly schedule like One Piece. I think they should take a I think they should take a break once a month. I would be very happy with 1 week a month where a weekly manga is just like, yeah, we're going on break. Even if he doesn't need it, we're giving it to him. I think that would be awesome. Kuma's flashback? I don't remember that having an incomplete chapter. MHA wasn't recent, but the UA festival ending wasn't finished. Maybe. I would have to look that up. Thoughts on Oda's health? The goat needs to move to a bi-weekly schedule. Gotta finish One Piece. There really is no right answer to the One Piece thing because, you know, Oda's killing himself to make that manga. But let's be honest, at this point, he has put himself in that situation, you know, making the story as long as it is. Obviously, there's pressures from editors and Shueisha, but it's like you could wrap up the story anytime you want. So, and at this point, if he, you know, is forced to one way or another to start wrapping things up prematurely, it's gonna show. Because if you start wrapping up One Piece now when it clearly needs a bit more time, it's gonna show through the cracks and people are gonna be like, this manga sucks, Oda killed it, the Jump killed it, this should have been in here and this should have been in here. There's no good answer to that problem other than just for Oda to finish the manga and then take like a decade off and just not make anything. Osamu Nishi is incredibly talented. That is right. I could not agree more. Is Dandadan the best manga of 2025? I love this 30 stretch of chapters. I would say it's between... I always say this, so at this point it kind of sounds like a thoughtless default, but I genuinely think that it's between Dandadan and Gachi Akata. And after having caught up with Gachi Akata a couple days ago, I would say that it goes to Dandadan just slightly. That being said, there's a lot of new manga that I'm not quite comfortable putting in that conversation, but I think this time next year, there'll be much bigger contenders. Like Ichi the Witch, I probably will be putting in the conversation. I basically want to now, but like it's just too early in the story for it to have the same kind of substance as like Dandadan or Gachi Akata, where it's like it's not as fleshed out. So like the comparison isn't quite there yet. Tatsu has the Kintamas to go the distance. I think Dandadan is just right thing at the right time. I mean, you've heard the story. Tatsu had to make like 100 other manga or something stupid before he got Dandadan right. But yeah. Oda runs a reduced schedule and also takes longer breaks. True. Excuse me. Even for it being early, excuse me, Ichi has incredible stakes already. That is very true. It's just, like, I already love the characters in Ichi the Witch, but I have not, we have not spent as much time with the characters and world, but especially the characters of Ichi the Witch, for at least me to have a remotely comparable relationship where it compares to Dandadan. Like Dandadan is like 4 years old, right? 4 years old at this point. So I've known the characters for 4 years. Ichi the Witch is what, like a year old? Something like that. So it's like, not even. When did it come out? This summer? Yeah, didn't it start in July? I'm gonna lose my mind if I can't think of this. Ichi the Witch, where are we? Chapter 1. September. Wait, what? Get the out of here. Oh, 2024. So it's a year old. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I was losing my mind for a second. Yeah, it's a year old. So, I mean, a year, that's pretty good. But, like, it's still... we're, like, still kind of getting to know these characters, right? Like, we still don't know Ichi as much as we could, right? Like, we haven't seen him in as many situations. Same thing with Descarus, same thing as Kumagi, although that's changing now. So it's like, it's gonna get there. It's just, it's right there. 10 out of 10 chapter today because of Queen Sensei. Yes. We had already kind of suspected it with Queen Sensei, but this chapter confirmed that she's not a normal nurse. Like, she has special healing powers. Tatsu's taking his time with that one. We don't know what is going on with her. We're just like, hey, she's got magic healing powers, and we know it's magic because it has a clear payoff and a clear consequence. Weird powers, weird consequence. But just keep that in mind because it's going to be important later. So it's like he's cooking something up with her. We don't know yet. What do you think of Okarun as a character? Do you think he's sufficiently well written? Or do you think this arc should expand on him? All of us still don't know his background. I think the knowing his background thing is overrated. I understand the sentiment behind wanting an Okarun backstory, or like people keep bringing up where are Okarun's parents. I get that, but Dandadan achieves a really nice balance of delivering emotional backstories while also fleshing characters out through day-to-day interactions and not relying completely on backstories. Like the chapter we saw today. So when it comes to Okarun, the fact that we don't have a backstory for him is fine, because he gets fleshed out through so many of the interactions throughout the story. And honestly, I don't think a backstory, I don't think there's any potential for a backstory to flesh out his character in a meaningful way. The only thing we've seen is, I forget where it was, I think maybe it was in the art book or the fan book that came out this year, but like we see Okarun like dispassionately eating ramen with his father. Something like that. Cup noodles, something. So yeah, I don't really see what the point of a backstory would be other than to say we got an Okarun backstory. But to answer your question, I think Okarun is a perfectly well-written character. Just because he doesn't have like a ton of depth doesn't mean he's not a good character. I actually have a video planned talking about this, so keep an eye out for that one, because I think it's about time we really talk about like Okarun as a character. We got Nahush in the chat. What's going on? Need more Sanjime and Okarun interactions. Yeah, that's got some potential there. I hesitate to comment on that because I'm not too sure where the story is headed in the next like 30 chapters, so I don't want to make like premature predictions. Got Ken in chat. How you doing, Ken? Thoughts on Dandadan passing Boruto in manga sales? Is that a thing? That I didn't hear about that. Can anyone else confirm, or can you point to any reports? That's the first I'm hearing of that. If it's true, I'm not surprised, because Boruto is a monthly series and Dandadan is a weekly series. So by definition, it's going to do more volume than Boruto. That being said, go on Manga Plus, and whenever Boruto has a new chapter, it's hotter than Dandadan, so it is what it is. I think Tatsu is saving the best backstories for Turbo Granny, Seiko, Momo's parents, and Okarun's dad. Maybe. Again, I don't really see the point to flesh out these characters. I feel like in that case, the only character who would benefit from I feel like the only meaningful backstory we would like to see is what happened to Momo's parents, because I think that would be a good way to characterize Seiko and see like how that changed her life, right? And see like what she was like when her daughter or son was still around. And it would show us what Momo was like when her parents were still around. Unknown L just subscribed. Well, hello, Unknown L. Thanks for subscribing. Saw it on Daily Dose of Anime. Also, Grok helped. I'll take your word for it. Just like Deku and his dad. Besides the fact that anime likes to, and I guess Japan in general, because it extends to Pokemon as well, but anime likes to give you characters with no dads. I I just like once you create that situation, I don't see the point in creating a backstory for a character, especially in the case of My Hero. People are like, oh, the story sucks because we never met Deku's dad. It's like, why the fuck do you care about a character who hasn't been relevant for like 400 chapters? Like, why do you care at like chapter 450 that we haven't met this character? Like, what are they going to contribute? What are they going to contribute, you know, 20 chapters before the manga's over? That's going to be meaningful. Probably nothing. So yeah. I want to take a look at today's chapter though, just to skim through and see if there's anything else I want to point out. So Okarun is doing the like channeling his chi thing that Gigi and Momo have done. So this is a confirmation that Okarun will be getting some kind of spiritual powers. We just don't know to what extent. Also, I want to point this out because I've seen people point it out online and nobody's really talking about it. How do we feel about Okarun's haircut? Because Okarun used to have not a perm, but he had like his cool haircut, and now he just has like a messy, like a random messy haircut, like a side comb haircut. And I feel like it is brutal for his character as in terms of his design, because I feel like his past haircut was way cooler. And the thing is, this isn't like oh, he doesn't have his powers anymore, so that's why. This started while he still had his turbo granny powers, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, how do we feel, for everyone in chat, how do we feel about Okarun's current haircut? And should Tatsu change it? Should he bring it back to Okarun's old haircut? How do we feel about that? I just wanted to bring that up. So this is what I like about Ira in this chapter, is when she approaches Okarun, she approaches him in a moment where like he's not devastated, but like, you know, he could certainly like phone a friend, right? He would certainly like to phone a friend. You know, he could use a buddy, right? So he doesn't look so stupid. And Ira comes in and saves him, basically, because now he doesn't look like such a moron, which is a nice contrast to when Momo had to do this and everyone was like, ha, you stupid girl, you idiot, what are you doing? And nobody helped her. But Ira comes in and she doesn't judge Okarun, but she's like, what are you doing? Right? She's like genuinely curious. She's like, what are you doing? She comes in, she explains everything that happened. So then she says again, she's like, what are we doing? Right? So she says it twice. She's like genuinely curious. She's not like, oh, this is stupid. Like, why are you doing this? She's in like a perfectly pleasant mood. She's not like, you know, like thirsting for Okarun. Like, oh, Okarun or Takakura, what are you doing? Oh my God, hi. She's like, oh, hey, what are you doing? Right? Like, she's like weirdly chill. It's like a perfect scene for her. And she makes genuine conversation because Okarun's like, oh, I'm doing the spiritual thing. And she's like, oh, the stuff that Gigi did, right? And then she like kind of teases him, but like not in a creepy, annoying way. She like pushes him because he's like, oh, if you can do this, then nobody should be able to push you. And she's like, ha, I pushed you, you suck, right? It's like a genuinely cute moment as opposed to like, Ira, please take a hint, right? And then Gigi comes in. Gigi comes in and the first words out of his mouth should be, guys, we need to talk about Momo. He goes, man, I missed you guys. He gives Okarun a hug and they're like, oh, hey, what happened to Momo? And he goes, about that. Oh, she's all fine. She's good. She's happy. She's great. Right? It's like, Gigi, you had one job. You had one freaking job, Gigi. Right? And he dropped the ball. He dropped the golden ball big time. So then Momo shows up. And I feel like, yeah, this is another instance of a character looking conspicuously normal, right? Because if you look at Momo when she shows up on pages 8 and 9 with Vamola, Momo, as far as I can remember, never wears her school jacket. Never. She always wears the pink sweater over her collared shirt. And in this scene, she's actually wearing her uniform. So it's like, oh, this is worse than we thought, right? She's feeling especially out of sorts. I want his old haircut back. It was weirdly suited him. It was cool. It was a really nice contrast between him being like, you know, like a geeky guy, but then having him have this like, you know, cold ass haircut. And now he's just got like a vanilla haircut. Earlier haircut was far cooler. We need it back because it makes his design feel flat. He looks vanilla. It doesn't ruin his design. It wasn't the only part of his design, but it does. It's a pretty clear decline, for a lack of a better word. Demotion? What's the opposite of an improvement? When he had Turbo Granny's powers, that's why he had the haircut. That's the thing, though, is I feel like this had already taken place while he still had Turbo Granny's powers. So I think this was just a deliberate decision by Tatsu, that he wanted to stop giving him the perm, or whatever we're calling it. What are we hating? Okarun's haircut? Specifically the haircut he has right now, which is just like a kind of like lazy comb over. Downgrade. Thank you. Thank you, Wano. That's the word I was looking for. Downgrade. Thank you. Excuse me. Anyway, so Momo shows up, and this should be the like, oh shit moment. But no, Okarun doesn't pick up on it right away, because he's like, there's my girlfriend, right? It's like a very wholesome moment until they realize Momo is not okay. And then the brutal moment of this chapter is when Okarun says hi and Momo does this. She goes, oh, thanks, right? That's the like, oh shit moment. That's the like, what the hell was that, right? Like Okarun's like, excuse me? What? No. Try again, right? And Ira immediately is like, what's going on here? Who are you? What is this? What's going on here, right? So Gigi tries to save the moment, but I wish I could step into this and be like, dude, this is your fault. Like, it's not your fault, but this should have been the first 2 words out of your mouth, because this whole confusion is because the first 2 words out of your mouth weren't, you know, not 2 words, but it's like, let me explain. The first 3 words out of your mouth should have been, let me explain. So now they're fighting. Vamola, I didn't even notice this the first time, but Vamola's like, huh, right? She's doing it like on pages 12 and 13. She's doing a cute like, uh-oh, my friends are fighting. And of course, Gigi's like, oh man, thank God, everything's normal. And Okarun's like, no, you don't get off the hook so easily. So they explain everything. Gigi explains everything. He redeems himself. As much as I don't want to say it, he redeems himself. So this chapter confirms, because on pages 14 and 15, when we get like kind of the montage of Okarun and Momo, you know, throughout the story, it shows Okarun at the maid cafe, and at the maid cafe he didn't have his like messy perm. excuse me, his messy perm, he had like the lazy bedhead haircut he has now. So this is something that Tatsu has been slowly doing for like the last 100 chapters, I would say. Seiko tells everybody just leave things the way they are for now. Because even Seiko doesn't know what's going on. She's like, shit, right? She remembers Miko and Muko, thankfully. But unfortunately, you know, like, what are they going to do, right? They don't know what to do. Also, something to point out, because I was doing some research for an upcoming video, but what do we call Momo's friends? Do we call them Miko and Muko, or do we call them Miko and K? Because the Viz translation is Miko and K, but I think their names are technically Miko and Muko. But somebody correct me on that if I'm wrong. We got Nomad in chat. How you doing, Nomad? Long time no see. Terrible messenger. Yes, Gigi is a terrible messenger. He had one job. Unfortunately, Gigi screwed up because he had one job and he should have done it right away. But everyone else screwed up because, like, why would you give this job to Gigi? That's just, no, right? It's not a thing. It's like asking Luffy to do something important. It's like, why would you put Luffy in charge? It's not a thing. No, don't do that. Anyway, Okarun's having a sad mopey time moment where he's thinking about Momo and he's like, well, this sucks. But character growth, before he would have had like a whole depression arc where for like a whole chapter he's like, well, I guess I'm just a bad boyfriend and now I'm gonna hate myself, right? But tough boyfriend that he is, now he's like, screw that shit, I'm gonna go save my girlfriend. All right, and he storms off, and this is where we have like a curry moment, right? Where he like takes a bite of the curry and he's like, time to go fix shit, right? I was thinking the same thing when I read this chapter, like, who's Kay? I think that's her first name. I don't know. They like go back and forth between what they call Miko and Muko, but I think their names are Miko and Muko. The wiki does not help because the wiki goes by the Viz translations. My boy is making going to ask her to have lunch together look badass. He's gonna pull up and he's gonna be like, you know what it's gonna be like? Does anyone remember the Vine where the guy's like, I love you, bitch. I ain't never gonna stop loving you, bitch. And Momo's gonna be like, oh my god. that's what it's gonna be like. It's gonna be like the most like mundane thing, but everyone's gonna like be like, oh my god. I sincerely hope that when he does like his cool boyfriend moment, somebody on the internet does that edit of like Okarun being like, I love you, bitch. I ain't never gonna stop loving you, bitch. Dandadan is fun. Anyway, if Okarun can drag her memories back by reintroducing himself, that would be a 10 out of 10 moment. I sincerely, I think everyone's expecting him to just be like Ken Takakura, and then she just be like, right? I'm like 90% certain that's what's gonna happen, but we'll see. Miko and Muko are gonna be the ultimate wingmen for Okarun in the next chapter. That's the thing, right? I'm like gonna be kind of disappointed if Miko and Muko aren't a part of this current arc somehow, because if you read the manga carefully, you will notice that Miko and Muko have more or less been a constant in their relationship at every step of this storyline. Most prominently the Maid Cafe, but they were there at the very beginning. They're there like in basically every transition point of arcs. They've been there basically at every point in their relationship, and I kind of need them to be there here. They don't necessarily need to be Okarun's wingmen, but they do, for me personally, need to contribute somehow, even if it's just a crumb. Why would they stop? I don't think they would stop so much as like Tatsu just not giving them a role in this particular subplot. Witch Watch is getting a second season. Yeah, I wasn't surprised. Witch Watch did really well considering it was a brand new series that was also not an action series. So yeah, common Witch Watch W. Mark my words, something big is going to happen in chapter 222. I think that's a pretty safe bet. I agree. At me, I know Tatsu probably won't do this. Excuse me, but I think it would be interesting to see Turbo Granny come back, but for some reason merge with Granny Seiko instead and become Turbo Seiko. I don't know about the Seiko stuff, but I think this is a perfect opportunity for Turbo Granny to come back and be like, before you say anything, let me guess, Momo lost her memories, and everyone be like, how did you know that? And she's like, bitch, please, what do you think I've been doing? And then Turbo Granny wingmans Okarun and help save the day. I think that would be a really cool way to do this, but you know, I don't know. We'll see. That's really all I have to say about this chapter, and I'm hesitant to make predictions because this is the kind of thing where I could see it getting resolved next chapter, and I also would not be surprised if this plays out over the next 10 or 20 chapters. I really have no idea. So I'm going to hold off on predictions for now. I just want to double check. Yeah, we are on schedule to get a new chapter next week, so that won't be a problem. What was I going to say? Oh, I want to look at Manga Plus because it's been a hot minute. Considering Granny Seiko and Turbo Granny have bonded so much, it'd be cool to see them work together. I don't think they necessarily need to work together that way, but I do agree that like we do need more Turbo Granny and Seiko moments. So interestingly, Jujutsu Kaisen Medulo is #1 in the top 5. I don't remember it being top 1, but I'm not surprised. Chainsaw Man is #2. It is officially past One Piece, although I vaguely remember it being ahead of One Piece. So I think not necessarily Chainsaw Man stocks, but I think Fujimoto stocks are through the roof. I think all the stuff Amazon has been doing with Fujimoto has really done wonders for his brand or for his series. Because like before, like people really did not give a shit about Chainsaw Man Part 2. At least on the weekly stuff. One Piece, then Boruto, and then Dandadan. So Dandadan is safely at #5 because it's like 75,000 points ahead of Sakamoto Days, and I don't see Sakamoto Days being as popular as Dandadan. But this idea that like Dandadan, you know, like suddenly crushed Boruto because it's got more sales, it's like, it's just not true. It's just Dandadan is weekly, Boruto's monthly. You go online and more people are reading Boruto, so it is what it is. What about Reiko? Who is Reiko? Is that the school bully? Who was Okarun moment incoming? I mean, I feel like we already kind of got that, but yeah, that if we get that particular moment, devastating. I find the monthly outrage at part 2 very funny every time he does something odd. Like, this is the guy who made Fire Punch. I think part of the problem with Chainsaw Man, like why it gets heat whenever it does something weird, is because it's kind of the same thing that just happened with Dandadan, where it's not so much the particular thing that people care about, but more the fact that like it's delaying other stuff for the sake of shock value, right? Like every time something effed up happens to Denji, it's another instance of like Fujimoto working around him, giving Denji substantial character growth. I think that's what people don't like about those scenes. Kagurabachi and Ichi the Witch neck and neck, not far behind Spy Family. Although I suspect Spy Family will move up with the new season of the anime. Mad is top 15, which is awesome. Make the Exorcist Fall in Love is 14, which is phenomenal. I remember when it was like, you know, top 30, and now it's in the top 20. So Make the Exorcist Fall in Love. I think we'll probably get an anime towards the autumn of its life. I also don't follow that manga, so I don't know. Everything else is more or less the same. Odor of the Flame is 27, which is stable. Martial King is at 29, so I feel like it's moved down a bit. Marriage Toxin is about the same. I'm surprised Marriage Toxin hasn't moved up at all after the recent anime announcement. I'm not discouraged by that, but I am a little concerned about that. Kyoshi is still at number 35, so Kyoshi is Kyoshi. World Trigger is weirdly at number 38. I'm assuming it got a new chapter. And Kaedagami is at 36. So Kaedagami, stark contrast from when it first started. Now it's like bottom of the top 40. So we'll see what happens with that series. We don't even have English volumes for Make the Exorcist Fall in Love. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that, but I suspect that might change in the next year or so. Completely honest, I think MAPPA should do movies over shows for quality because reputation. I kind of agree with you, but I also think they just need to animate Chainsaw Man. Like, if they're going to end the anime with part 1, that's fine. But like, in that case, just make another movie and end it. But like, if they start doing Chainsaw Man exclusively in movies, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to hate that. Because I just think that's stupid. Like, give us an anime. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Thanks everybody for a great discussion. Sorry again for the late start. Look out for a monthly update tomorrow. Apologies, it's a bit late. I've just been working on videos. But that's all taken care of now. Video tomorrow. There will be a panty and stocking video tomorrow. Dr. Stone video this weekend, as well as another video this weekend. Stream Thursday. I don't know what we're going to do Thursday. We might just do a random manga reading stream, but we'll see. Especially with no Dandadan now. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Look out for the new videos. Look out for the monthly update. And